Hello out there in the Artfully Connected Facebook group. How are you all doing tonight? Um, we are here tonight with Miss Pat Lentine. Hi, Pat.
Hello, hello.
How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Good. You ready
Hanging in
for
there.
tonight's show and tell? Not show and tell.
Yes,
What am
this
I
is
saying? To watch, learn, and
watch
create
and
tonight.
learn. Yeah, this is a
Yeah.
fun project. It really is.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. I know that they love fun projects. And also too, I've been getting questions about beginner classes and whatnot. And I want to just reiterate to everybody that any one of the classes you take is not technically difficult.
Correct.
Now, some classes might move at a faster pace than others. But most of the teachers here move at a really reasonable pace so that a beginner typically can keep up with them. But if not, you'll have the recording. So you can do what they call audit the class, meaning sit there, watch what the teacher's doing, take notes, follow her along with her in her instructions, put little cliff notes next to them, and then do it with the recording. But the
Yeah,
teachers, I was going to say, the teachers are always there for you to send photographs to or call or email or whatever to get critiques from them. You want to
yeah.
add to that, Pat?
If I can interject, tonight I will be moving at a faster pace because I'm just moving along to demonstrate. But when I actually teach a class, I go much slower and give students time to work on their piece. I usually demonstrate, give a little time to work on it, and then demonstrate again. Tonight, I'm just going to keep demonstrating and not give work time.
Right, and that's the difference between a lot watch, learn, and create on the Facebook group and a regular webinar.
Right.
So, but you can still go back, and for 30 days, the video from tonight's watch will be on in the group for 30 days. After that, they delete it, but it will be going on to a YouTube channel. And I'll put that link in the comments. Um, Thank you for being here tonight. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments and I will relay that question for you. If you are watching the replay, thank you for taking time out of your day to watch the replay. And you too, and those that are here after class is over, if you have questions when we are not live, you can put an @ in front of Pat's name, and she'll be notified that there's a question for her to answer. So you get to still get your questions answered. Again, you can always email Pat. Pat, you want to tell them what your email is?
It's patlentine.com.
Pat,
Or excuse me, email pat@patlentine.com.
there you go. And I'll put that in the comments as well. So, thank you all for joining us tonight. And if you are penciling or pasteling along with her, please let us know um, in the comments and where you're from. And when you're done, we'd love to see you post it in the group. And again, put the @ in front of our names so that we can go check it out. We love to see what you're doing. In the meantime, let me say, Pat, why don't you take it away? I will spotlight your piece
Okay.
and you'll be ready to go.
Okay, as I said, this is or I am saying, I don't think I said it before. This is a fun piece. Just play with it, be loose, have fun with it. Um, so for those of you who are unfamiliar, I thought I'd talk just a little bit about pastels. The Prismacolor new pastels, you can get a box of 24 and they come in a box like this. This is probably an older box, so I don't know if the covers the way it usually is, but they come like this and you get 24 assorted colors in here. And sometimes they come wrapped in a stick like this. And sometimes they come one long stick, which I don't happen to have a long stick here, but I have a half a stick. And they'll come like this without the paper. Actually, I prefer it without the paper because I usually have to take the paper off. But these are considered a hard pastel. There's soft pastels, which most of them around, not all of them, but most of them around. The reason I like the new pastel instead of the soft pastel is because they have less dust. A hard pastel has less dust than a soft pastel. I also use the pencils, and they're considered a hard pastel as well. It's a pastel pencil, and I will use these for fine detail work. The pastels, as I said, they come, they come, and I usually have to break them off so that I can work with them. I work with little pieces because and I'll show you that in a minute, but I use my pastel on the flat edge. And in order to work it on the flat edge, I have to work with little pieces, because if I had a big long stick, I couldn't fit it into certain areas. These new pastels can be sharpened as well, and I wanted to show you that. You can find a pencil sharpener to sharpen these new pastels and work with them that way. They're not the easiest to sharpen, and you do end up with, losing dust unless you save the dust and work with the dust. But for different classes, I have sharpened them, and there's different sharpeners that work better. But I couldn't find my sharpener that I used to sharpen those with. But it's not an easy process, but it can be done. Let me turn my light on here. Let's see what else. The pastel. So that's the pastels. I wanted to talk about the surface. This surface is Canson Meetins paper. You can work on many surfaces. I work on the Canson. I work on the smooth side of the paper. There's pastel matte. There's UArt paper. There's a lot of different surfaces you can work on, and you can experiment with that. But the Meetins paper is a reasonable paper, reasonably priced, and so that's a good piece to practice with. Let's see. There's many blending tools. You work and find your own. Let's see here. What have I got here? There's such a thing as a clay shaper. This is in the clay department, I believe, and it has a rubber tip. And this will blend. This is a nice blending tool. There's, oh, here I did pull one stick that didn't have paper on it, and I put it in the wrong place. So these clay shapers come in different sizes and different shapes. So they're not, in my opinion, they're not inexpensive. I think this size cost about $7.90 something. And this one was a lot more expensive. So, but you only need one or two. You can use a paper stump. Sometimes a paper stump removes more pigment than it blends, but you can try it. There's also the paper tortillons, which are smaller than the stump. Let's see, what else have I got here? You can use, this is called a Lowell Cornell style stick, and I absolutely love this tool. When I used to teach in person, I used to supply this for every student because they're not easy to get and they work wonderfully on pastels. I don't demonstrate with them much very often anymore because people have a hard time finding them, but you still can find them if you Google and look up Lowell Cornell style stick, and they come in packages of 3 or 4, and they also come in different shapes. The other thing I will blend with, and I'll use this today, is a deerfoot. I don't know what these are called. It's a deerfoot, but I don't know what it's considered. You can also use a stencil tool, a stencil brush. I mean, this is Lowell Cornell 412 Deerfoot, and I love this brush, and I use this brush a lot. So, or if you can't find that, you could just use a regular stencil brush. So I'll show you how to use that later. What I use the most is my finger. I like to blend with my finger because the warmth from your finger just seems to blend them so much better than anything else. If you don't want to use your fingers, you can buy finger cots. These are little rubber tips that go over your fingers, and I have used these, and they work almost as well as the finger, but they don't quite blend quite as well. One thing I almost forgot was a pastel pencil. The pastel pencils blend really well. When you use the side of the pencil to blend, they blend the pastels really well too. So all kinds of blending tools. Some people use popcorn and pipe insulation, and I have tried those, but I've never really taken to them. You can also use sponges or cotton swabs. I find regular sponges and cotton swabs take too much of the pastel off. They remove it more than they blend it. However, the pan pastel sponges blend beautifully. So that's the blending tools, and we'll talk more about blending during the project. Erasers, you can use whatever eraser you like to erase with. I generally don't erase much in pastels. Usually I just put another color on top, because you can put another color on top to blend it. A kneaded eraser is great to have, and I didn't mention that, but a kneaded eraser also blends really well. So avoid the impulse to blow your dust. First of all, you know, it goes through the air, but when you inhale to blow, you inhale the dust. So you don't want to blow because you don't want to inhale the dust. So the best thing to do is take your paper and tap it off over the top of a wastebasket. I usually put it over a wastebasket and just tap it off like that, and that will get rid of the dust. Sometimes I leave the dust there because it helps to blend. So sometimes you don't want to get rid of the dust right away. I frame my piece under glass with a mat so that the piece does not touch the glass. And I do, I go back and forth on spraying it with Krylon. I didn't spray in the beginning, then I sprayed every time. Now it's kind of 50-50. If I want to, usually I just, at the end of when the project is finished, I tap, tap, tap really hard to get all the excess dust off and then frame it. Sometimes I'll spray it if I, you know, but it's a matter of personal preference. Okay, we'll get started. I have a tutorial online of this project. Oh, I thought I had it pulled up. Here it is. Trying to get rid of the side. No, I can't. I have this online. If you're interested, go to my website, patlentine.com, and click on e-packets. And that is where you'll find this tutorial. So this is the project we're working on, and this is the finished project that we will do today. I know I can get this side off, but well. Okay, so as you can see, there's step-by-step tutorial or photos here, and that's what I'm going to be working from tonight. So that helps you to get it done. So I'll go back to step number 1. And the first thing I'm going to do is draw a grid on my piece of paper. Oh, the first thing I did do before that was I had my mat. I like to always, if possible, not have the finished mat, but the size of the mat I'm going to use. So I took my mat and I kind of drew a boundary really light in pencil. I think you'll be able to see that. I come up closer, see the boundary I drew so that I just know how far out I need to go and where to contain it. So that's the first thing I did. And then the next thing I'm going to do is draw a grid. And I think the one color I need here is not here. Huh. I don't know why. Okay. So this grid can be very rough. It doesn't have to be perfect. You do not have to measure it. I'm just going to divide the piece in half here. And I guess it's pretty equal borders here. So I was going to say, so I'm just going to pull down. And I do this with pastel rather than pencil because it's easier to cover up. And that's not going to show up. So I'll do a different color. I don't want it too dark. Oh, that's not going to show up either because it's the value of the paper. Let's try this one. Okay, so I'm going to divide it in half. Then I'm going to divide it in half over here and over here. So that I'm just going to pull a grid line. And oh, my grid lines are really shaky. If I turned it, I probably could do a better job. Then I'm going to divide it in half horizontally and draw a grid line and then divide that in half and divide this in half. So we have a grid, a rough grid, granted, but it's a grid. Then I'm going to take and draw my pot. And this, you know, this is rough. It doesn't have to be exactly the same shape as the pot that I did originally, but I'm going to, that's what I'm aiming for. But if I get it, fine. If I don't, that's fine too. If I get a different shape pot, I think I want it a little bit bigger than that. So I just roughly draw in a pot. Okay. Then I'm going to fill in the pot. And this is when I want to talk to you about how to use these pastels. As you saw me, I was using the corner of the pastel. There's different ways to use the new pastels. The corner, which the corner doesn't blend very well. So you don't want to use the corner that often. Then you can use the edge, which is the flat edge. If you have a sharp flat edge there, you can use this edge right here. So that would make a line like that with the flat edge, or you could use the edge and pull it this way and get a little bit thicker line. Most of the time when I am using these pastels, I am using this flat edge right here. So I'm laying it down flat, and then I'm going to fill in this pot. And I think I used the wrong color, but no, I guess I'm using the right color. So this is pale vermilion. And I tried to stick with the colors from the box. So it would be easier for people just to buy a box. Might want to fill it in, give it a little bit more pigment, just so that I have something to blend with. Then I started on the background, and I took white first, and I put in the background. Let me get my picture back here. And in the tutorial, it says I used more pigment than what I used in the tutorial. And what usually happens when I'm doing these pieces, I take pictures as I go along. And when I'm doing them, I'm not really sure exactly where I'm going with them. So I might not put as much pigment as I need. And then I have to go back and add. But the second time I do it, I usually have a better idea of where I'm going with it. So I add more pigment and don't have to do it a second time. So I put in some some white. Then I'm going to put in some lemon yellow kind of over the white in some of the same places, but leaving some of the white show. And then I put a little light blue in there just to cool it down. And the blue is similar value to the paper. So then I took the Deerfoot brush that I told you about, and I pushed the pigment into the paper. So this helps with the blending process because it kind of pushes the pigment in, and you'll see as you go along, it softens it also. And these early steps, you can do as many times as you need to. You don't have to worry about just doing it once. And as I said, if I make a mistake, I usually just go over it instead of erasing it. Now, my pot color is coming out a little into the background, but I'm not worried about that right now. I also keep a cloth handy, which dropped on the floor just a second. Some sort of a cloth to wipe my finger on constantly. So I will take some sort of a cloth and keep wiping my finger. As when you're painting and you're blending, you constantly wipe your brush off. So when you're blending with your tools for the pastel, you continually wipe them too. Now, you could use the finger cot for this if you didn't want to use your finger. I just find it faster. And the thing that I'm going to have trouble with today is I put these lines in dark so you could see them, and therefore they're coming through. So when you would do it originally, you would use a light color to put those lines in, but I did it so you could see it. Now, as I go along, I'll probably be able to cover them up. But normally, if I'd used a light pastel, they would have been covered up by now. You could also try blending the background, another blending tool. And I made a note to myself to try it, was a terry cloth towel. So if you didn't want to use your finger, you could try the towel. You could try different things and see what works for you. Another thing I had here to show you was this glove. I had seen someone doing pastels with a glove, and I had to buy it and try it, but I haven't tried it yet. Every time I've been doing pastels, I've been demonstrating and haven't wanted to try it. But the person that had it on the video I watched, she cut off the little finger, and she just used her little finger to blend a little bit. She didn't use her fingers as much as I do either. And so that you could try the gloves. Okay, then the pot, I used white to put a highlight in the pot, and I'm using the flat of the pastel, and then I used the lemon yellow over the white. And to get that in, then I shaded the pot with the sanguine, and this time I did use the edge, and I'm going to pull on the edge like this because I can control it a little bit better. So I'm going to pull a shadow. The light is coming from the right. So, and this is sanguine, and I'm going to pull a shadow on the pot. Little bit of a turning edge shadow over here because it does turn, but a wider shadow here, shadow at the bottom, and a shadow at the top. So that's the sanguine, and you can shade with the sanguine. Next, I started to put in the flowers. And looking at the photo, the photo on this step, it's showing me where to place the white flowers, and then I'm going to place the dark areas. So here's my white. And you could use different colors, of course. You wouldn't have to use the colors that I used. You could do this, and you could do a blue pot and yellow flowers if you wanted. You could put more flowers, but according to the grid, I'm trying to follow what is in this photo, the step photo. And the grid helps me for placement. And I'm just putting these flowers in. And then for the dark areas, I used, if you have the bottle green is a great color, and you can buy these colors, I believe, anyway, you used to be able to individually on Dick Blick or different places. But I would recommend getting the bottle green if you do much. But it wasn't in the box. So in order to keep with the box colors, I'm going to put some, I think this is the Hooker's green. That's the other problem with these. Once they're in small pieces, you're not sure what the color is. I'm looking at a label here. So they all, unless you have, paper on them, you're not sure what color they are. So I'm looking here and picking up a color that I think is, when I got these colors together, I checked to make sure that I was getting the right colors. And so I found a Hooker's green, and I'm assuming that's what this is. But if it isn't, it's just a little different color. It's not dark enough. The value is not dark enough. So I'm going to have to put some black over it. Where if I had the bottle green is just a really nice black green, and you don't have to use the black with it. But if you don't have the bottle green, you can. And now I'm going to use the flat edge because the black is really strong. So I'm just going to put that over the green. And you can see I'm not being real careful. You don't have to be. It's not like colored pencil where you have to get everything in the right spot. So then I got some dark values in there. And I want to blend the pot. And I'm going to wipe my fingers off, wipe them off with my towel. And then I'm going to blend. First, I'll blend the dark side, or you could blend the light side first. Then I'm going to wipe my finger. See how beautifully that blends? I mean, I love it. Then I'm going to do the opposite side. Wipe my finger. Could use a different finger too if you wanted. And I'm going to blend the middle. Now this gets done more than once, but you get the idea. And my pot, now I've got dust there, and I don't like that dust, so I'm going to tap it off because otherwise it's going to get in the background. I'm putting it over my wastebasket, and I'm going to tap it off. And my pot's a little I can see it on the screen more than I can see it in front of me, but it's very off center here. So I'll have to deal with that, but I'll do that in a minute. I'm not going to take the time to do it right now. Okay, so the next photograph shows putting yellow over the white flowers. So I wanted some yellow in these flowers. So I just took the side of the pastel, it's flat on the paper, and I'm putting some in the white flowers. Now I'm not covering up all the white because it's nice to have some of that white there. And then I'll take some of the blue, and again, using the flat, I'm going to put some blue in. Let me read my instructions. Okay, I put some blue flowers in. First, I put some blue flowers in, using the flat of the brush, and this is light blue. So I put blue in, and then I put a little bit of blue into the white flowers, not too much, but a little bit. Okay. So then the next step is to blend the flowers however you want to blend them. I think a good thing to do as well first is to maybe pounce a little bit, because the pouncing softens before you blend. This pounce step is not in the instructions. Now I'm tapping it off onto a paper towel before I go into the darks. And I'll tap the darks, and I'm not tapping too much, just a little bit. And I might clean it on a paper towel and then go into the white a little bit. Okay, so then I'm going to take my finger. You can take, like I say, you can try different blending tools. I'm going to start in the light areas and blend those first. Wiping my finger often. Do the blue areas. And then go into the darks. And as I'm doing these dark areas, I'm pressing a little bit harder, pressing the pigment into the paper. I'm looking at my instructions. No, I put some blue in here. No, I put some iron blue, which this is the iron blue, and I wanted some darker blues in there, so I put this in. And you're looking for balance. And put some of this over the darks. and then I blended that. And that's the basic of getting it in. Then you have to go back and look at it and decide what you want to do. And so the first thing on this piece, well, one of the first things that's bothering me is the shape of the pot. So let's see if I can fix that. I'm going to make it bigger over here. That doesn't help. It helps, but, and I'm going to use an eraser. I said I usually cover up instead of erase. However, the background here is lighter than what I want. So I won't be able to cover that up that well. So I'm going to try to reshape this pot. It's funny because it looks different on the screen than in front of me. In front of me, see, it's wide right here. And that's what you have to, I think it goes in a little bit more right here. Now, what I could do, and I'm not going to, of course, take the time to do that right now, but what you could do if this happens to you and your pot gets off, that's I think about the best I'm going to get right now. It's still a prettier shape over here than it is over here, but I think that's going to about do it. But what you could do is take a piece of tracing paper and trace this side and then flip it over and put this side in so that you get them to match. But I'm not going to take the time to do that. Tap it off on over my wastebasket. And then I will reshade this over here on this side. Maybe along the bottom edge. I'm going to reapply these colors, and because it's easier, I'm using the edge of the pastel instead of the flat, just to be in more control. I think I'll blend before I add the lights. And if you have pencils, you can clean up these edges with pencils too. So I'm going to add some of the light back in. First with white, and then with the yellow. And if you have pastels and you don't have these exact colors, like I say, you can use other colors. Now, when I'm blending this time, I'm using a lighter touch. The first time I blended this pot, I kind of pressed and blended it in. This time I'm using a lighter touch. And a good blending tool for that as well is a kneaded eraser. So I could take the kneaded eraser and blend. I could take the clay shaper and try blending with the clay shaper. And that does a decent job. Or I could try the style stick, which, as I said, I love the style stick. And these all, like the clay shaper, I was using a little bit of pressure. The kneaded eraser, not much pressure. The clay shaper, I used pressure. The rest of the pieces, the blending tools, I'm not using any pressure. And I have this here, so I'm just going to use the side of this to blend it. So you just work back and forth between your colors. As you work on these, you learn whether you want light pressure or heavy pressure. In stages as you go along, in the beginning, you use heavier pressure to blend. At the end, you use lighter pressure because you're just moving the surface. And let's see if I can erase this a little bit right here. Very forgiving. Okay, then I'm going to redo the background. Get these backgrounds, trying to cover up those, these lines of sanguine that I put in there. Go next to the pot here. And cover up. So I'm adding more pigment. Doing the same thing I did in the first step. But adding more pigment. Using a little bit of pressure. Hopefully those lines will disappear eventually. Go in with the yellow. I'm aiming for the lines. Go in again with the white. Now, normally when I'm doing a piece like this, I take my time, I stand back. And oh, and I wanted to talk about the fact that normally I put it on an easel. So I'm looking at it farther away, and I can stand back and I can get a better look at what I'm doing. So, and when I have it on an easel, you can put a tinfoil little catch. You can put this under your piece. Let me do it this way. You can put this on your easel, and this can go under on the bottom of the easel, and it'll catch the dust. So the dust doesn't, fall down all over the place. So like I say, I'm usually at an easel, and I look at it from a distance. So this is a little bit different looking down at it. So I might put those in. I would go back and blend. Go back when I get this done and put the flowers back in. So you can go back over it. And depending on the tooth of your paper, and the Me-Tints paper has good tooth, you can do this a few times. So then I might go back and put the whites back in. And this time you can see the edge. As you're putting these in, you want the whites to be over the top of the darks. So you'll see the darks kind of disappear a little bit because the whites are on top of the darks. So you can ruffle the edges. For instance, I'm going to turn it, it's easier. This edge right here, I can ruffle that edge and make it look like the flower is over the top. As I'm going along, I see where that looks like two flowers. So one flower on top of the other. So I might take a little blue and separate those two flowers. So you're kind of doing individual flowers at this point, separating them. Going back with the blue and the yellow. Putting some of the iron glue back in if you need. Although I don't think I need much iron glue, but you could. My iron glue just needs to be blended a little bit more. This line right here is too much. You kind of look at it and you say, no, that doesn't look good. So you put a flower in there, break it up. Maybe bring this flower down a little bit. And you can, I'm not, but you can go back to the first steps and see where you put your flowers in to begin with, and just repeat that. But I'm just kind of playing with it. And you want, I want to break that up so I can come in, break that up a bit, go back with some yellow, go back with some blue. One of my favorite colors in this box of new pastels is the light blue. The light blue works so well in skies and water and flowers. Just a really pretty color. Another thing that I would do at this stage is take and I have an old mat here, and I don't know if you can see it, but it has pastel on it. So I'm not worried about getting it dirty. And I would put it over my piece to kind of see how it looks in the trying to find my lines. Here's my lines. Can't find them on the side, so but to see how it looks in the mat, and so for balance and that. So as I'm looking, there's too much flower here. I need to break this flower up. You just have to go back and play with it. And it's a good way to do that is like I say, go to the finished piece or go back to the step-by-steps. And I'm just touching some shadows in here. Blending a little bit. One thing I want to do is bring some flowers down on this pot too. Tapping is a good way to blend as well. You don't want to, because I wanted that pot to show through a little bit. Break this one up. I don't like the looks of this right here. So I think I'll put some light blue in there and make this flower a little bigger. Let's put some shapes out in the background a little bit here. The light blue doesn't seem to be doing it, so if you do it with the dark blue and then go over it with the light blue, gives you a little, it shows up a little bit more, and then just tap it. So you can keep playing with that. I also added in some violet. If you have lavender, again, the lavender was not in the box of 12. So if you have lavender, I added some lavender here and there. I really like this color in it. However, right now I'm using lavender, but if you don't have lavender, you can carefully add a little bit of violet. See, that's pretty dark, but let's see, where do I want it? Maybe in here. You can have a little bit of violet and then add the white on top of it, and that will give you a lavender. You just have to be sparing with the violet, and you'll get a pretty lavender color. So I'll add some more of that in. I took some sap green. But I had more than one of these. My sap green is really little. And I added some of this in. And again, you have to stand back and evaluate this. Okay, so I'm going to tap this off. Now, one of the things that I'm going to skip here, I did use some sepia on the dark side of the pot. So I did blend this along the bottom, up at the top, and on the right side. Put a little bit in there, and then lightly blended it. And that got really dark. I lightly blended it. Now I'm pushing it in a little bit more. Got some dust down here, so I'm going to tap this color off. Then I'm going to go back with my, because it did get so dark, I don't remember it getting that dark in the first place. I'm going to go back with my sanguine, put that over the top. And it's still pretty dark, so I'm going to go back with, actually, I might be getting my colors mixed up. This might be the sanguine. And I do like it dark, but I'll put some more lights back in. Yellow. Actually, I think I did the white first and then the yellow the first time. Now I'm doing the yellow first and then the light. Make sure my finger is clean. And blend it. And it's still a little bit darker than I want. Actually, in front of me, it looks okay, but on the screen, it looks too dark. So I'm going to take a little bit of yellow. And a little bit of the sanguine. And then blend it. So you get the idea, you can play with these colors. Now with the pot, and I, for some reason, left this out of the instructions. I'm gonna put it back in a day or two and get it back on there. But you can take your pencils. I'm gonna tap this on. And clean up the edges. I'm taking my eraser right now and cleaning up the edge. So you can take your pencils and clean up these edges. You can do it with the pastels too, but it's easier for me to do it with the pencils. I met a woman who did everything with soft pastels. Now, soft pastels are round, they don't have points, they're not as pointed as these new pastels. And she got the finest detail with those pastels. She didn't use a pencil at all. But for me, it's hard for me to get the fine details or to clean up edges like this. So I'm using a white pastel pencil to clean up these edges. And if in the beginning, if I'd have been a little bit more careful, this wouldn't happen too. I think I was just working too fast. And I just blew. That's a no-no. Okay, so clean up these edges with the pencil and or the pastel. I did end up putting a highlight in there. I'm looking for the photograph. I did end up putting a white highlight in here with the white. And I put a reflected light over here. Tap it in. And I'm going to put a tiny bit of blue over here just to cool it down. So that's pretty much the pot. You can go back and clean it up and redo it if necessary. Let me look at my instructions, see if I'm... Okay. I'm looking to see if I missed anything. And then I'll go back. All right, I did put a shadow under the pot, and you can do this with the sepia or a dark pencil. And the pencil could be darker than this. Put it in. Blend it. And it has kind of a hard edge here. I ended up pulling a red pencil instead of a brown pencil. Let me find a brown one. So I think in this case, I'm going to try blending with the tortillon, because it'll get in there. I put in a tabletop, and I did that. You could do it with a pencil, but I took the edge. This time I took the edge of the piece, and it wasn't perfect. And I did it about here, and I just pulled the edge over. Try to get it. I should have done this side first. The end of the table. And if that's too dark, you just want to pounce it in. Now, the other thing I did, I mean, I can go back to these flowers and rework them as many times as I want. Oh, I did put I'm changing gears here. I did put a reflection on the table with the pot color. And I'm just kind of using the side of the pastel. Then I'm going to lightly blend it. And then I pulled the background colors, which was white and yellow and blue, and I went into that. First with white, then with yellow, and with a little light blue. You can then blend that and repeat it as needed. Blend this pot a little bit more. A little yellow right in here, so I might put a little white, maybe a little blue to cool it down. That's what you have to do. You have to stand back. You have to look at your piece. Say, oh, that's too yellow or that's too white. And tone it down a little bit. Now there's a lot of yellow here and no yellow here. So I think I'll do a combination of putting a little bit of white here and a little bit of yellow here so that they kind of look like it goes together. Maybe a little bit of blue over here. Tap it in. I don't know if you noticed, but I was tapping the light areas and I went to tap this and I changed fingers so that I wouldn't bring the white into that. I took a green pencil and let's see, I gotta read my instructions. I drew some leaf shapes in the piece. So let me look at the picture, see where I put them. So just a couple of them, you can see it in the finished picture, but I drew a little leaf shape, something like that. Maybe something over here. Few up here. Some of them I filled in and some of them I didn't. Kept them really light. Put one in here. After I got several of them in, I took the brush and pounced them to set them into the piece so that they wouldn't be, clean my brush off, they wouldn't be too noticeable because I wanted them to just fade into the background. Um, okay, that is all of the instructions. Then you want to evaluate your piece and decide what it needs. And again, I would put the mat over it for one thing. And see what it needs. And one of the things I see right away is that this is too dark. That's drawing your attention up there. So first I would soften that, maybe with some green, some light green. I don't want that quite so dark up there. And if that didn't work, maybe a little yellow. I just want to soften it. I don't want to take it away. And some of the others, if they're too dark, now in my original piece, I had more darks, and this piece doesn't have that many darks. So I wanted to, you don't want one dark to stand out. I would either have to make them all darker or soften the dark one. And I would like the pot highlight to stand out a little bit more. So I might brighten that. So I'm just evaluating the piece. Now, the original, take it out of the, as usual, my demos are never quite like the originals because I don't take the time for one thing. So that's this one, and here's the original. You can see I have a graph line shown over it. And there's a lot more darks in there, and there's some little white flowers in here too that's not even in the instructions. But and this is a printout, so it's not quite the same as the original actually is. But so you can see I added a lot more darks, and there are more blue-green in there, a lot of the iron blue, and put that in there. But this is a little different take on it. Oh, I almost forgot. I also did, and I can't see them either in the picture. I can't even see them in this picture, but it's in the instructions, so I know they're there. I put a few little leaves on the table too. Just shadow leaves to look like they had fallen. So you could do that. Put a few little leaves there. So have there been any questions, Cindy? If you're talking, Cindy, you're muted.
Sorry, no, there hasn't been any questions, but Lois says fingers are the best blenders, and Bonnie says she'll watch the replay, and Lisa was like that she's been looking forward to this. So I'm glad you all are liking it. Thank you so much for watching this. Thank you, Pat, for showing it to us. It is so pretty.
Yeah, let me just say that, well, first of all, it's so much. I mean, it's fun to play with. And I have a couple other pieces here that I quickly did a long time ago. I mean, I didn't just do them, but here's a different one with different flowers on dark paper. You know, same technique, same idea on dark paper. Here's one that looks like I never finished it, and here's one on green paper. So playing with colors on green paper. And then here's a couple. Here's one with yellow flowers with a different little picture, and one with yellow and blue. You can just work, and they're just so much fun to play with. So don't be afraid to play. And if you can see, this cup is rough. I mean, it's not real blended, smooth, but I like it. It looks good. And the same with this one. It's not a smooth blend, but you know, it's fun and it's easy, and you know, they're fun to play with.
Awesome.
And did you want to see, I've got it here.
What you have coming up. Yeah.
Yes. If you want to share my screen or let me
Okay,
share.
hold on, hold on. Dum, 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 dum. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, this is a pastel I have coming up. And it's, when is it? I wrote it down. Wrote it down somewhere. It's in August, I think. And this is with this, it uses a few more pencils, but this is kind of the same technique. It's you know, playing with pastels on paper. I have to look at my,
Let's see. It is August 27th.
okay, and I had this so I could see it, and now I can't see it. Wait a minute. My bar is in the way, so I can't. Maybe I can pull it up. Here it is. I can click on it. This is my Santa ornament coming up tomorrow, and this is done on mat board, which I'll show you in a minute. This is a colored pencil piece, and it's a fun project. And you can do it on paper or on mat board or on whatever surface of your choice. This is Finley. We're gonna, and that's tomorrow night. This is Finley. We're gonna glaze color Wednesday, August 13th. We had already done this one, and so we did it in these tones, and now we're going to glaze the color over the top of it. So if you'd like to even just come and watch and see, you know, what it is, what it's all about. So those are what I have coming up. I did want to show that this is the Santa on a insert from an oval mat board, and it makes a great tree ornament. And so this is the little oval insert that you get from a framer. You know, you go to a framer and say, do you have any ovals? Or you can do it on paper. You could do it on Canson paper and cut it into this shape and then hang it on your tree. You know, Meaton's paper works great. So that's what I have coming up.
Excellent. Well, that sounds like we are wrapping it up, and thank you so much for sharing your talents with us, Pat. Thank you, everyone,
Thank
for
you.
being
Thank
here.
you.
If you're watching on the replay, remember you can also ask questions if you want by putting an @ sign in front of Pat's name, or otherwise you can email her or go to patlentine.com and check out more of her works on her website. So it's pat@patlentine.com. Is that your
Yes.
email? Okay. So there you go. It's in the news comments area as well. So have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Then we have a show and tell coming up on Monday. I think it is the 28th. So come by on the 28th and see what the other artists as well as Pat has in store for you coming up in Artful Webinars or wherever they're teaching. They're able to share with you wherever they're teaching so that you can hopefully catch one of their classes if it's near you, or always on Zoom at Artful Webinars. Take care. Have a great rest of your week. Bye now.
Bye.